Well, folks, welcome to another Friday fishing forecast, and today I decided to head out. I caught some bait earlier for the office, and now I'm actually trying some old haunts of mine that I haven't fished in forever and seeing if there's any fish here. It looks like this weekend is going to be a beautiful weekend, but it's going to be a little on the breezy side. Not horrible, but I wouldn't recommend going offshore, especially on Saturday. Sunday you might be able to get away with it, but even then it looks to be pretty choppy. But if you fish inside the bay, you can get out of that wind, especially on Saturday when it's blowing out of the southwest. You can definitely fish on the south shore of Tampa Bay and definitely get into some fish. I'm seeing a lot of redfish being caught. I'm seeing a lot of sheep's head still being caught. Some nice trout are being caught now. So a lot of different things, a lot of snook, a lot of different things going on. I'm seeing a lot of snapper being caught inside the bay. So if it's something that you want to do, you want to fish, I'm even thinking about fishing on Saturday in the bay. Both my buddies Tony and Chad are going to the Keys this week, so they won't be here, which I'm happy for them. They invited me to come down, but I just don't have the time to get down there and get back and run the shop on Tuesday and Wednesday. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the tides and schooners for this weekend and talk about what we have in store. Okay, for the tides, we have a low tide at 6:53 a.m. at a negative 0.6, and then we have a high tide at 1:15 p.m. at a 1.2 foot, then another low tide at a 0.4 at 6:15 p.m. On Sunday, we have a low tide at a negative 0.4 at 8:25 a.m. Then we have a high tide at 2:32 p.m. at a 1.4, and then we have another low tide at a 0.1 foot at 8:10 p.m. On Saturday, we have a minor feeding time from 5:55 a.m. to 6:55 a.m. Then we have our major feeding time from 11:14 a.m. to 1:14 p.m. Then we have another minor feeding time from 5:34 p.m. to 6:34 p.m. Then on Sunday, we have a minor feeding time from 7:32 a.m. to 8:32 a.m. Then we have a major feeding time from 1:07 p.m. to 3:07 p.m. Then we have a minor feeding time from 7:43 p.m. to 8:43 p.m. All right, folks, well, that's the tides and schooners for this weekend. And like I stated, the winds are going to be up a little bit, but it doesn't mean that you can't get out and fish, because I think the fishing is going to be really, really good. We're coming into a new moon. The tides are moving pretty good, as you saw. So I think the bite's going to be there. So if you can brave the wind a little bit, it's definitely going to be a beautiful weekend. So I wouldn't say stay off the water. I just wouldn't go offshore. So there's plenty of fish to be caught inside the bay. Right now, like I said, I'm fishing a spot that I haven't fished in a long time. It's actually, we have it named Big Snapper and Red Snapper. And I've gotten hammered twice, and they've gotten my bait both times. So I sent it down, but I hooked it differently and they haven't touched it. So I may need to bring it up and hook it back the way I was hooking it to get bit. And I talk about that a lot. Is people ask me all the time at the office, at the bait shop, they're like, well, how do you hook your bait? Well, it depends. I hook them a lot of different ways until I get that bite. And then when I finally get that bite, then I know what kind of pattern that they're feeding on. So I make sure that I try to hook it that way. And I got 2 hits, hooked it a different way and didn't get hit. So if I don't get hit on this drop, I'm definitely going to switch back to the way I was hooking it. It's a pinfish, and I'm hooking it on the top of the head. All right, guys, I just caught a grouper. I didn't get it on camera, but I made a slight adjustment and hooked it back through the top of the head on that pinfish, and he hit it almost immediately. So establishing that pattern is key. I keep mentioning that in these shows, but establishing that pattern is very, very important of how these fish want to eat the bait. All right, folks, I'm going to kind of show you what it looks like, what I'm looking for when I'm looking for ledges inside Tampa Bay along the shipping channel. I'm just going to kind of give you an idea. I'm going to get off the edge a little bit because I don't want to be right on the edge, because you'll never see it on the side imaging. You'll see it on the sonar, like right there. You'll see right there, and you'll see some fish right there. I don't know why they're not biting, but coming up here, you'll start to see the ledge. So when I come back this way, plus I wanted to get out of the way of this ship that's coming through, but Now you can see that ledge perfectly defined right there on the side imaging. So I'm going to go check a couple other spots. There's actually 2 ships coming in, but I'm going to check this other spot real quick. But as you can see how prolonged that edge is right there, and the higher, the more depth you see, the more shade, the higher that relief is. So you can see some stuff off the edge of the ledge here. So I'm gonna kind of go back this way and try that spot. That looks really good right in there. I'm pretty sure I have that marked, but I'll mark it again just to see. And there you go, I got it marked. Now you're seeing more stuff here that I know I don't have marked. I had some stuff close to it, but I don't have it marked. But that's the key thing, is if you're looking for the ledges in the main shipping channel, you want to be on the outside of the actual channel itself, because if you're on the inside of the channel, you're never going to see that ledge come up. You're just going to see just flatness. So you always want to make sure that you're on the outside looking into the channel itself. So I've caught some red snapper in this area, but a few years ago it got covered up during their dredging, so I haven't fished it since that happened. So I just caught a small grouper, but then again, now you're seeing more on the side imaging. See, I'm right kind of on the edge. So now I'm going to go by this one spot, turn around, anchor up, and see if I can't catch anything. I'm seeing some fish on the machine. I don't really need to see a lot of fish on the machine. I just want to see some, and then I'll turn around and go back and fish it. But now in this spot, the way the tide rolls through here, it kind of goes diagonal where the actual channel is. So it kind of doesn't go straight down the channel edge. You got to kind of set up kind of diagonal to it because of the way the tide runs through here. Little grouper. I'll take it. When you're fishing the bay, folks, it's so important to get set up correctly. You don't want to be off that, if you're off that ledge just a little bit. It took me a little bit of time. I haven't done it in so long that it just took me a little bit to get set up right. And once I got set up right, then I started catching fish. But like I said, the way this tide goes through this channel here, because this channel kind of cuts in and then cuts out, so it's kind of a diagonal way. So you got to hit it just right. That's why I always hated fishing this area, because it was so hard to get set up on it. But if you could get set up on it, you're going to catch fish. There's a lot of weeds in here, but you can see on the screen, on the side imaging, you can see the part of the ledge on the left and part of the ledge on the right. So I'm right on top of the ledge and able to drop kind of straight down. I'm pitching it forward just a little bit because the tide's still moving halfway decent. But once I get it down there, they're on it almost immediately. And I'm just using shrimp right now. I'm trying to get some snapper. See what happens, but getting set up is very, very important. Oh, there's a bite. There's a fish. Not the biggest grouper in the world, but I'll take them. All right, now I'm dropping down a pinfish. Let's see what happens. I don't think he's much bigger than what I've been catching, but when you go to these bigger rods, yeah, he's not much bigger. So let me talk about what I was doing on that pinfish. Woo, he almost got away. So I'm hooking him right on the top of the head. Sometimes we hook him there. Sometimes we hook him through the lips. Sometimes we hook him in the back of the tail down here, or up on top here, or underneath the pectoral fins. So a lot of different ways we hook them until we figure out the way they're going to hit them. And like I said, I sent down a pinfish before, hooked in the tail, and I couldn't get bumped. So I went back to hooking him in the head, and I'm catching fish. Oof. There he is. Still not the one I'm looking for, but they're getting bigger. And he's about the same size. Right now I'm using a 2-ounce ball jig in the and the pudding pop color that we haven't come out with yet, but we're going to. It's almost like a watermelon seed color, but darker with red flakes, red and green flakes. It's a pretty color when you see it. The pictures in the video don't do it justice, but it is a pretty color. Now folks, if you're wondering, if you don't want to go out and catch your own pinfish, I got about 1,000 of them at the office. We caught about 700 in our traps today. So we got plenty of pinfish in stock. We've got whitebait in stock. We've got shrimp in stock. We've got all your tackle needs. So we have a lot of stuff at the shop ready to go. Ice, all kinds of stuff. And we're right on the water in the little Manatee River, so you can get to us by boat. We have drinks, snacks. So having as many different baits as you possibly can is key, especially, it doesn't really matter where you're fishing or what you're fishing for. If you're fishing for snook, redfish, trout, sheep's head, fishing for grouper, snapper, hogfish, you want to try to have different kinds of baits. God, he thumped it again. So you can present, if you got other people on the boat, it's much easier, but if you're by yourself, it's kind of a pain because you're trying to establish that pattern by yourself. But if you've got several people on the boat, don't let them all use the same thing. I get so mad when we go out and fish and I ask everybody, what are you using? Everybody's like, oh, I'm using shrimp. I'm like, God, guys, I didn't catch this live well full of bait for nothing. So somebody change it up a little bit and let's see what they're eating. And that's how we find out what they're eating and how they're eating it. I also wanted to talk about the bait. The bait has shown up on the flats. This morning I was reading water temperatures at 75 on the flats. So when I was pulling my traps, I thought, I wonder if the bait has showed up on the flats. Sure enough, I'm idling along and bam, I see some bait, put the trolling motor down, start throwing chum, and sure enough, they come right into the chum and we were ready to go. Caught bait on the flats, no problem. And so everything's starting to come into the springtime pattern. I know a lot of the guides are talking about how the fish are really going off. So that's a good thing to see. Well, folks, that concludes the Friday fishing forecast. I hope you learned something on this and on this video, and hopefully you get the chance to get out and go fishing this weekend. Like I said, it looks like it's going to be a nice weekend, just bumpy. But on that south wind, it will get you out. You can fish this side of the bay easily. There's a red grouper. But you can fish this side of the bay easily on a south-southwest wind like that. Yes, it's going to be a little bit windy, but there's a small little front coming through, and I think that will trigger these fish even more with this warmer water, everything happening on the flats, bait showing up. So if you get a chance to go out and fish, I would highly recommend it. Go out and just enjoy the weekend. Again, I just want to say thank you to everybody for all of the support. If you're looking for live bait, we've got shrimp, we've got pinfish, we've got whitebait, we've got all the frozen bait you need, drinks, ice, snacks, all of it. So if you're on the water near the Little Manatee River, come by and see us. Again, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Fish more, catch more, and we'll see you on the flip side.